No more reasons not to shine. Yeah. Free in the kingdom to be me. Free in the world and all will see that the God in me is powerful indeed. And the power to get wealth is working in me. I am called to be a curse breaker, Abraham's seed. Poverty must bow to the anointing and free me indeed. No more ways to feed tonight. No more reasons not to shine. Free in the kingdom to be me. Free in the world and all will see that the God in me is powerful indeed.
Thanks for joining us on today. Welcome to the Kingdom Creatives from Vision to Voice podcast. Y'all, I am so excited about what God is doing and about our special guest. Now, this podcast is where kingdom-minded authors, artists, and innovators share the story behind the story. I'm your host, of course, Deb Howard, your abundant life coach, and this series is dedicated to uncovering the divine vision, personal journey, and creative process of kingdom creatives. Listen, I know many of you out there are creative people. You may not know it yet because I didn't know I was creative, but this podcast is for you because we are going to be talking to some of the top-notch creatives in the kingdom. Yeah, I said it, top-notch. All right, so let's get started because I am so excited for you guys to introduce to some and present to others my friend Melissa Morehead Moore. I'm going to get past it to you, Melissa, so you can introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness, first, Deb, thank you so much for allowing me just to be a part of your platform today. Thank you. It's such an honor. Hello there to everyone out there in Kingdom Land, if you will. So my name is Melissa Morehead Moore. I am a coach. I am a speaker. I am a moderator. I am a minister. I am a community builder. But most importantly, I tell people that I truly love the Lord. I am one of his daughters, right? I have that sticker. My picture is on the refrigerator, if you will. So yes, I am here just to pour, here to speak and to tell my truth and my story and whatever other questions that you have for me. So it is an honor to be here today. Thank you.
I am, and we are collectively excited to have you here. I have been looking forward to this conversation. So, Melissa, let's dig right into it. All right. So,
yeah, I forgot one more thing.
Go ahead.
Well, an author as well. I'm like
an author.
Yes.
Of course, she's an author. Yes, this woman of God is multi-talented, and that's why I was so excited to bring her on this platform. So, Melissa.
Yes, ma'am.
Now that you've given us all the things that you do, share with us a little bit of your story. How did you get to this point in life?
Oh, goodness. Finally getting out of my head and getting out of God's way. And that was a process with a capital P, right? So I think just like the pandemic, everybody had those aha moments. And I remember prior to the pandemic, so this is what, maybe middle part of 2018, because the 19, I think, was like the pandemic piece or whatever. I remember telling God, I can't do this anymore. I need community. I don't know what community looks like for me, but community is more than my friends, right? And even the community where I lived at, love the individuals, love the people, but I know that there was a shift that was coming in my life and I could feel it, but I could not describe it. I could not put my finger on it, but I knew that it was something different. And I remember one particular evening, Coach Deb, I remember literally laying out on my floor in my bedroom, crying out to our Father and saying, I can't do this by myself. Because if you don't send somebody, it's just not going to get done. And so I knew he had gifted me and had some things for me to do, but I felt like I was all over the place because I didn't have that solid foundation of the people that I needed in my corner. And so that has what's brought me, I would say, from the end of 2018 2019, I ended up, and it was so funny. I went from Android to Apple device, and my kids got me an iPhone for Mother's Day in 2019, and maybe 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, I get this invitation to join this app called Clubhouse, and I'm like, what is this? And particular Clubhouse, I went to the Crazy Courageous Confidence Club, our coach Tina Moore, and it has been, yes, it has been up from there. And that's how I was able to meet you and be in the same circles. And when I tell you that God brought me into a community over 24,000 women, but I love to say that I literally have 24 sisters, because that's when I literally met everyone on a tour that she went on during the pandemic. And so that's what brings me here. And it was me getting out of my head and getting out of the way for God to do what I know um, that He was waiting on me to do, for Him to do, excuse me.
Absolutely. And I left that out audience. But yes, me and Melissa were in a program together, a coaching program. We had the same coach, Coach Tina Moore. Shout out to Tina, who connected so many of us. So yeah, it was an amazing program. We could have this whole show about that, but we're not today. Not today, because it's about Melissa. No, Melissa, I know that COVID and all of that was a very challenging time for a lot of people. And thank God for Clubhouse. I mean, I think I also discovered Clubhouse, and I don't remember how, but somewhere in that COVID time, I found Clubhouse too. So talk to me about, what was it about even looking for a community? What were you looking for specifically, and what were you transitioning out of? Were you working before that? Talk to us a little bit about how you made that exit.
Yeah, so I was still working at that time. So I was working for the federal government. So at that time, prior to the pandemic, we were teleworking. So a couple of days in the office and a couple of days at your residence. And so, which was absolutely great. Then, of course, pandemic happened, everything shut down. And so it did something to me, and it showed me how much I was wasting my time and not going anywhere.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this, right? This work. Like, it's great, it pays well, but I know there's more. And so even in that moment, knowing that there was a difference just of surviving and thriving. And so because I finally realized and knew, and I could answer that hard but easy question, that He is the source to everything that I have and I need. Because if this stops, oh gosh, what's going to happen? So I knew I had to do something, but I also knew He gave me something to do, and I just didn't know what it was, if you will. And so I knew in that particular season that I not only, because I knew how to be responsible, but I did not know how to be held accountable. And so I needed so many, all of those words that end with ability, right? I needed responsibility, accountability. I needed all of those. And so in that particular season of the pandemic is when I was introduced literally to accountability.
Wow. Okay, that's powerful. It's something that a lot of us, I know, may need or may not even know that we need, and I think that that's a good segue, because sometimes we don't know what we need, and sometimes we're even afraid of what we need. Now I'm letting you, because I know you are the fear fighter.
Yes.
So how did you deal with that? Because, and not to put you on the spot, but I think we're similar in age. So in these different seasons of our life, especially, right, when we've come so far in a certain way,
Absolutely.
I think it can be challenging to make a turn, to leave what's familiar, even in an unfamiliar time, because COVID was unfamiliar. But
very much.
Talk to us a little bit about how you dealt with that. Did you even experience fear in that process, and how you dealt with it?
I did. So I will tell you, and yes, you and I are in the same age category, right?
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I found very fearful for myself was letting people know that I was scared. And I'm like, so at this time I was late 40s, getting ready to enter into my 50s. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't let people know this. And so even at that time, right, having a very good job, having a secure job, people pleasing, oh goodness, what are people going to think? I don't,
Mm,
oh gosh, how can I explain this when I don't even have the right words to formulate, but I see it, but I can't put words to what I see. And so that right there was the beginning of me truly on this journey of dismantling the lies of fear, that negative words, word curses, all the negativity that either I received from other people, like, girl, it's just not your time. What are you doing? You've got bills, right? Or
mm,
someone telling me years ago when I was probably 20 years old, telling me that I'll never amount to anything and no one will ever want me. So having to work through that lie, having to work through the lies of just, I mean, I'll be very honest, looking at your bank account to the bills, like, no, this can't, this
mhm.
can't. So I will tell you what happened. The agency that I worked for, I had to make a phone call to a particular law firm here where I lived at to get some information about a client. So I had a very good working relationship with the administrative assistant that answered the phone and was the, I should say, the paralegal for this particular attorney. So she was looking up some data for me and she said, hey, I have to tell you something. And I said, what is it? And she said, I need to tell you that you're going to know when it's time. And I knew she was a believer as well. And I'm like, okay. And she said, I also need to let you know that your grandmother is very proud of you. And this is what I said. So this was my excuse to her. I said, first of all, I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't believe in that. And I'm thinking, how does she know my grandmother's deceased? Right. So it was all
Yeah.
these things. She said, but well, you need to know that you're going to know when it's time. And you don't have to be scared. Oh gosh.
Wow.
That day, about 30 minutes later, I typed up my resignation
Wow.
and I sent it to my bosses. And within 30 minutes, I have a phone call from them like, what is going on? And I'm like, I can't explain it, but I need to go. And
Wow.
within a week, I was gone. I had enough vacation time saved up, right? So I would clock in for 15 minutes, check emails. I think the longest time I ever worked was probably 2 hours, you know. But I was here at home. I'm like, I'm not doing anything, just going to the mailbox and coming back in the house, right?
Mhm.
And I did it. I did it. And that was the birth of me becoming truly and walking into the calling that I know God has for me.
Wow. That's amazing. Because not many people are able to make that kind of decision,
Yes.
and go through with it. And
And
go
I
through
was
with
scared. And I don't mean to cut you off, but
it.
I
Yeah.
was scared. But you talk about fear. I'm like, oh gosh, my bank account and these bills, like, it's like the balance of my bills are more than the bank account.
Yeah.
But that right there was the beginning of me walking in faith with Him. It
Wow.
was scary. And it's still scary, right? But
Mm.
it's that faith. And I think sometimes, we can go and we quote, oh, He says, as long as we have faith as tiny as a mustard seed,
Yeah.
but I still get scared.
Yeah.
I still had like, oh gosh. But it's a faith journey. I believe it starts out as a faith journey before it becomes a faith walk.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And I can see why you took on the title and the coach that you are to deal with that. So, as you let me ask you this. So when did you decide really to become the fear coach? When did that happen?
When I started taking the classes. And so I
Okay.
became certified. It was probably about 2 or 3 months after that.
Okay.
So everything was literally bam, 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 bam. It was like everything was set up for me. It was just waiting on me to say
Okay.
yes. To
Yes.
say yes to leaving, yes to what He has for me to do, say yes to even to myself, right? Because
Mhm.
I even think sometimes in that sense that we can over spiritualize some things.
Mm.
He he has gifted each and every one of us with something. And
Yes.
it's up to us if we are going to use the gift. If we're going to use the gift, I should say, let me correct myself. If we are going to accept the gift, use the gift, and utilize the gift.
Okay. That's
And
it.
so that's where it all became for me as a fear fighter coach, because in order for me to help other women that I've been assigned to work through fear, I had to work out through my own, right? I tell
Mm.
people fear is more than being afraid of lions, tigers, and bears. It's that unknown, it's the uncertainty of what is or what is not. And I think it just depends on which word on which day that you want to use.
Yes, yes, yes. It's amazing. Your story is amazing. What you're doing is amazing because all of us deal with fear. All of us.
All of
I
and
mean,
yes,
I
yes.
think we're lying if we say we're not. I mean, even for a little bit. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're dealing with that. So talk to us about what you do. I know you had an event not
Yes,
too long ago. So talk to us a little bit about what you do and about that event. I know we want to
absolutely.
hear about it. Is it going to continue? What's
Yeah.
going on?
So I tell you what, that was part of another layer of the,
Mhm,
the fear no more, or just the fear fighter coach itself. So during the time of, I think of what we were just seeing in the world and what 2024, it was just a lot of people were tired, people were uncertain, people were scared, afraid, just had a lot of questions and or concerns or both, and especially women. And
mhm,
so I started seeing, whether it was online, on social media, reading articles, talking to people as well, because I'm also in certain community political areas as well,
mhm.
and noticing that women, that we were tired. I did not care what socioeconomic background you came from, what your race was, what you did for a living, whether if you were a believer or not. We all had one thing in common, and we were tired. And it was that emotional and mentally, and I even think exhaustion, that physical tiring as well, right? And I'm like, something has got to be done.
Mhm.
And Take Back Your Power was birthed from conversations. And I know God had given me this vision of what it was. I did not know what it needed to look like, but I know that it needed to be powerful. So I called two young ladies, that I consider them almost like my spiritual daughters, if you will.
Mhm.
I've known them. I know one of them probably since she was 10. She's now grown and married and has kids, and the other one is her sister-in-law. And so I reached out to them. I said, hey, I said, I'm working on something that I know God has given me, but I want to be very careful who I bring into the room to work with me. But I need to bring you two along. The other one is a self care coach. And the other young lady, her sister in law, was a photographer. And
Mhm.
so the whole thing with this was we were going to smash our fears. And I'm
Mhm.
like, God, I don't know how this is going to look like, because I used to have a podcast that was a part of our marketing, if you will, of
Mhm.
smashing. And I
Ah,
said, oh my gosh, I said, how good is that if we take everything that we're feeling, write it on a plate, and we just smash it. I kept telling him, I don't know what this looks like, but I see it, and I see people like becoming free in this moment.
yeah.
And so they were like, well, where is it going to be? And I remember telling them it will not be in a church,
Mm.
because though I am a believer and I am a minister and I'm a child of God, I also know that there are women out in this world that do not believe. I
Mhm.
said, but he commissions us to let his light shine in us so people know who he is through us. I said,
Yes.
so I first and foremost, I wanted to make it a safe space. So long story short, um, it came to pass. And when I tell you, it was 35 women in this room. We had a DJ, there was food, there were all the things. But the one thing they were able to do is I coached them in this process of writing their fears, of putting all their fears down, and how they wanted to take their power back, right? And they
Mhm.
were able to smash it and to release it. And so in that moment, because again, the photographer was there, and I wanted her to be very intentional with the photo of each woman, either writing down their fear or smashing their fear, and knowing that when it comes up, that, hey, I have the tangible evidence that I can do it. And probably the most freeing thing for me was to see my 79-year-old mother to
Oh.
participate as
Oh.
well. The
Wow.
whole process of it all.
Wow.
And it was absolutely amazing. And even to this day, women are still talking about it here. And so, because I realize and know what the community where I live, what we need, that
Mhm.
is something that will keep going on every year until the Lord says, okay, it's time to pivot. So
Yeah.
yes, take back your power. And so from that, workbooks have come along with that. I literally just released affirmation cards, digital affirmations. The hard copies will be coming soon. And so it's all of the things. I have a book that I'm working on right now and taking back your power. And so it's all the things I think that we as women, because we forget that before we were wives, before we were mothers, before we were business owners, grandmothers, aunties, your next door neighbor, your best friend,
Mhm.
we were young girls who God named.
Wow.
And we have to learn to take back our power. And so when you start taking back your power, you truly know your identity. And
Mm.
that is one that I wanted women in this community to know. Like, I want you to come, leave everybody at home, leave the bills, leave the kids, leave the dog, cook them, order a pizza before you go, right? And come and get fed, not only physically, but spiritually, emotionally. And can I tell you, because I know God is real, and I
Mm.
know as long as I gave him my yes, he was going to do whatever. So though I wrote things out on paper and this was the run of the show and all of this, he still showed up. Because
Of
that's
course
all
he
he
did.
could do. Yes. And so even realizing in the moment of being a fear fighter coach or taking back my own power, all he wanted was me to say yes. And that was it. Period. Dot. And
Wow.
I did. And so from that, and I will tell you, even doors have opened for the other young ladies that were a part of this and the attendees as well. And to see some of the attendees, I could be out of the grocery store or different things like that. And matter of fact, I saw one this morning and she gave me a big hug and she said, thank you so much.
Oh
And I
my.
also do coaching for a not for profit here in our town. And it
Mm.
was one of the young ladies that we've always seen each other, and I always say in a 2x4 box, right, on Zoom. But I was able, after all this time, we were able to finally make a connection. And so I'm a firm believer that God will give you what you need when you need it, when the time is right for you to meet and or see someone that you have to lay eyes on.
That's amazing. I'm still on your mom being there.
That was powerful. And I have a picture of her throwing down her plate. And it was so funny because we had literally had a snowstorm the week before. So I
Mm.
live in the Midwest. And so when it's cold here and January, when it snows, it snows. We literally had like a really bad ice storm and snowstorm. And
Mm.
you talk about the fear. I'm like, oh gosh. Oh gosh, like I just need the people to come, like God, please, like let the snow come the next day. We don't need nothing else. And so and I remember the young lady that was with me, the other coach, she was like, how are we going to smash it? I said, we're going to smash them and it's going
Mm.
to be okay. We're just not going to go outside. So we ended up getting freezer bags, writing, they wrote all their fears
Mm.
down, how they want to take their power back and put them in a freezer bag, put them in another bag, and they just smashed them. I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
we're not going to let the code stop us, right? We're not going to let the lack of what we think we don't have stop us because there's 522 ways to do one thing.
Come on now.
So I could have gotten in my way of thinking, oh my goodness, these women trusted me. They
Mm.
poured into me with their hard earned money to do this. And I have to like, oh God, what is this going to look like? So yeah, it was
Oh wow.
amazing. It was amazing. And so many things have come even for myself out of that event.
That's amazing.
Thank
And
you.
the power in breaking something. Now, we're not going to get into it,
Yeah,
audience, but it's a spiritual practice. I mean,
yeah,
come on. If you really, anyway,
yeah,
it's definitely spiritual
yeah.
and very symbolic. Um,
Very.
there's so much power in it. I
Yeah.
mean, just hearing you discuss it. I
Wow.
know
Thank
there's so
you.
much power in that.
Yes.
And so thank God for you and thank God for the assignment that he's
Yes.
given because I think it's critical.
Yeah, very
Um,
much so. Very much.
yeah, I think it's critical. Now talk to me about we're not going to ask you what you wrote on your plate, but what was your biggest fear or what maybe was or is
Wow.
that
You
biggest
know what,
fear?
Coach Webb, I have my plate right here.
Ah!
And these were all of mine.
Wow.
And so when
Okay.
we were marketing, I purposely wanted to write on this plate. I've had this plate in my kitchen. It was a plate I used to eat on,
Okay.
and I wanted to release some things.
Um,
But I had to release it on something that I had that I know that was holding me back. And it wasn't the plate that was holding me back,
mhm.
but it was all the things that combined with the plate.
Yeah.
And so some of my fears, I'm ready to release fear, voiceless, uncertainty, know it all, right? Being a
Mhm.
victim. Um, am I an overachiever? Am I too fat? God, why am I not married yet, right? Am I pretty? Am I worthy? Was I a good mom? Who am I? Am I good enough? I'm not going back, whatever that back was for me at that
Mhm.
time. I can't be superwoman. I can't be super mom. Am I good enough? Am I pretty? There's some other ones on here. Doubt, disruption, fear, hopelessness, being the strong one. What is my worth? What is my value? Um, Finances. God, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? Why am I a people pleaser? And it was all of these things here. And so though when I started marketing and I said I don't want to break this, so this is literally like some very symbolic to me, and I
Wow.
keep it in my office to remind myself, because I think sometimes we also need those visual reminders as well, because
Mhm.
though I'm a coach, that doesn't mean that I don't have to coach myself.
Amen. Yeah.
If I
Wow.
was a doctor, I would still need to go see a doctor, right?
Yes, you would.
So
Yeah.
just because I coach women on the very thing of many things, right, that
Mhm.
they can associate with, I still need to be coached, and I still need to coach myself, and I still have a coach to this day.
Yes. Yes. That's powerful. And thank you for being
Yes,
transparent.
ma'am, absolutely.
I think that, the things that you called out, I know I could relate to probably all of them.
Yes, yes,
My own fears and
mhm,
insecurities. Insecurity, I mean, that's a fear too, right?
yes, yes,
Insecurity, just
yes,
not being confident in your own identity. And
yes,
I think, even the type of coaching that I do too, that's a big subject because
it
we
is.
have to know who we are. So, Melissa, as the fear fighter,
Mhm.
when you talk to some of the women out there who I
Yeah.
know already are insecure, what would you tell them and what advice would you give them really to help them come out of that fear and move into their next? Because there's so much greatness out there. I always think that, but
It
there
is.
is.
It
There's so
is.
much greatness in the women, especially the women of God.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell, especially young ladies and the ones that are segueing, I should say, from like that 30 into this middle age, starting of 35,
Mhm.
stop saying that four-letter word, fear.
Mm,
Fear is nothing but a four-letter word that we allow to hold us back from our greatness.
mhm.
And once you release the fear, but still work through the fear, because we fail to realize that it's always going to come up.
Mhm.
So I can finally level up in my confidence, but guess what? I can walk in the room and be like, "Oh God, I don't know my worth."
Mm,
So I can have confidence and worth finally worked out, but then I'll walk in the room like, "Oh gosh, there's somebody there that knows my past." So now I've worked through confidence, the value. I've worked through my past. Oh gosh, now somebody wants me to speak. They want to charge me, or they're asking me how much, like, do I, so it's all the
mhm.
things. And so I would tell her right now, stop saying that 4-letter word. Stop allowing that 4-letter word, that dirty, nasty 4-letter word, right? Fear. Stop giving it a voice. Because
Mm,
when we silence fear, it can't do anything. It
wow.
has no power over us. And yes, I know that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and of sound mind. But
Hmm.
I also realized that if I didn't have the power, if I didn't know how to love, and if my mindset wasn't right, fear was the only thing that I could connect to at that time.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's time to let it go. And it's not going to happen overnight. And I think that's the thing that
Mm,
we're not transparent enough. It's not going to happen overnight. It's
yeah.
still work, not work in progress, but it's still work. Stop saying that 4-letter word. Stop saying that 4-letter word.
That's powerful in itself. I think you're right. Sometimes we give too much power
Hmm.
to words,
We do.
and that word in
Mhm.
particular,
Yes.
we probably give it way more power than we need to,
Yes, ma'am.
since God didn't give us the spirit of fear. So it's not coming from Him. And I think the other thing that's powerful, I think, is you're right. We're not transparent enough because it is a process.
Oh, absolutely.
You and I have been through a process,
Yeah.
as you were talking, I was thinking, oh, yeah, we went through this program together, and I didn't even think about it. It's been a couple of years. It's been
It
a few
has.
years since we've been through that program.
It has. It has been a couple of years. And I think even the fear of meeting people that I've finally meeting people that I've never met.
Mhm.
Crazy as that sound, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, who are these women that I'm getting ready to meet? And I poured my money into a person I've never met, but I
Mhm.
trust them enough to pour into me, but I'm still apprehensive, like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. Are they safe? And oh gosh, every single last one of them were safe.
Yeah. 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 That similar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an introvert by nature.
Yes.
I could stay in the house in my room 24/7,
Yes.
and I'm not exaggerating.
Exactly. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, so it can be intimidating, and I think which is fear also. Look, I'm thinking of all the fear
Yeah.
every word I say,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you, I too, I was very intimidated. The first event that I went to in our with our coach, I think it was in Florida. Yeah, it was in Florida, and I had to go by myself, which and I didn't know anybody. And if you could just hear the talk in my head, know, even when I got there, I was so tempted to not even come out of my room. Girl, just relax somewhere. Let them people do what they're doing. but
Yes.
but like you, I
Mhm.
really have to talk myself into
Absolutely.
doing things and move past not trusting people. Because for
Yes.
me, that's really what it was. I just didn't trust people.
Yep,
I
exactly.
had been hurt. And I
Mhm.
know we probably have some listeners
Yeah.
that have this same experience. I had been hurt. I had been betrayed. I had been, all the things, right? Ran over, been a walking mat for people,
Yes,
and I felt unappreciated.
absolutely.
And, why should I do it?
Because
Why?
it's God.
Yeah, I mean, it's not worth it.
Absolutely.
So talk to us, Melissa, about what makes it worth it for you. Because you're dealing with this all the time. I'm just talking
Yes,
about me.
yes, absolutely. What makes it worth it for me is when I know I have a voice. And I think especially for me, because my voice is different in different areas that I'm in.
Mhm.
Whether it's in the community and being some of the grassroots things that I'm tied to, organizations that I'm tied to, or in the political scene as well. I tell people a lot of times that there is a reason why silent and listen are spelled the same, are use the same letters, but spelled different.
Mm.
There's a time for us, of course, as we know, to speak, and there's a time to be silent. And so just because I might be silent does not mean that I'm scared or I'm fearful or that I have some type of fear. I think a lot of times we rush in and we just want to talk. And so in this season, I'm learning to listen. And I'm also learning to be silent. Sometimes both at the same time, though they're different. And
And I
so,
hadn't even noticed that silence and listen
mhm,
at the same
yeah,
time.
yes, same letters, using the same letters, spelled different. And so that's the season that I'm in now, because now I have women that I'm coaching. How do I work through this fear? So the
Mhm,
one thing that I have to show up 100% as their coach and
mhm,
be very transparent and relatable at the same time, right? Because
mhm,
though there's fear, there are so many fears in this life that we're seeing: the fear of uncertainty, fear of being alone, fear
mhm,
of being with people, fear of not trusting people, all of the things. And I think as women, that we deal with so much fear. I think especially one prime example, you have kids getting ready to graduate soon, meaning they're getting ready to leave the house, whether go to college or into the workforce, military, or just leave the covering of mom and dad. The
mhm.
fear of what's next as a woman. Like when your baby or babies leave, you're like,
Ah,
oh gosh, what's next for me?
yeah.
So even in the sense of me now being in my middle age life, caring for my mother, though praise God, she still is able to get around, but she's older. And
Mhm,
so and I don't know if this would be the right word to use, right? A semi caregiver, because I still have to look out for her, make sure, hey, you doing okay? You got your medicine, all of these things. And so now I'm having to operate different as her daughter. So not only am I still her daughter, but now I'm the point of contact, the emergency point of contact, so now the roles have changed. And so it's all of the things, because though we all have fear is going to show up in different seasons in our lives and
mm.
look totally different. But you got to be willing to put in the work in order to see the results.
Wow. I think you said a mouthful right there.
Wow.
I think so many women, especially in this season, right, the middle age, I guess, we're caught in a sandwich generation where
Absolutely.
we're sometimes taking care of kids and parents, but
Yes.
definitely when the kids leave,
Mhm.
and that is such a transition that it's unexpected.
Mhm.
I know it's unexpected for me.
Oh,
I,
absolutely.
you
It
know,
was hard.
it was hard, and I was happy and sad,
Yes. Yeah.
and it made me personally have
Mhm.
to look in the mirror. I feel like I hadn't looked in the mirror in 18 years, I guess.
Exactly. But that is very true, because now it's different. I mean, down to the grocery shopping, right?
Mm,
you,
yes.
you're cooking different. You're not
Mhm,
washing clothes as much anymore. Like it's all the things that you don't realize until they're gone. I remember when my last child left, and so he went to the military, went to college, went to military. He got out about 6 months prior to the pandemic, so he was living at home at that time. So he
mhm.
was 21, and I remember he was like, "Yeah, it's time for me to go and find me a place." And then back in my head, I'm like, yeah, it is time for you to go and find a place. And I remember he found an apartment, and I'm like, you need for me to go and help you? He's like, no, I'm good. He found a place, moved in. And I remember that night, I felt like I had to grieve.
Mm,
And I think that's even one thing that scares us a lot is grief. Grief
mm,
is more than death. And because we don't understand, I don't even think we understand the concept of death. And so it's scary for us to grieve as women who are
mhm,
mothers or
mhm,
grandmothers or aunts or whatever the case may be,
mhm.
because we don't understand the true meaning of death. Death is still life.
Okay.
And because we don't understand it, we grieve what is no longer, I would say, affording us to have life, if that makes sense. Because when you're a mother and you birth and you give life to these babies, a baby or babies,
Mhm,
and they leave, you're like, I don't have a purpose anymore. Yes, you
mm,
do.
yeah.
So we've allowed what we know to be to allow death and not speaking death over anyone, to allow death now to come into our lives. And now we're grieving. So it's this whole process of, and like you said, now I haven't looked in the mirror in X amount of months or years because now I'm going through the motions just to live. No, sis, I need for you to stop and I need for you to breathe.
Yes.
And I need for you, because now what happens when we fail to deal with that, now there's deeper roots that come to the problem. And now there's deeper things that we got to start working on. And so fear is always going to be a revolving door. Sometimes you just got to know which door to open.
Whew. Like, whew. Okay. That was a mouthful and so powerful. I know what you just said has helped some people break free.
Yeah.
Because so many times we lose our identity, and it's not a bad thing. I hope no one takes what I'm about to say negatively, but we lose our identity in motherhood.
Yes, we do.
And we forget it's an assignment, and that every assignment comes to an end.
That part, yeah.
You know, and we don't think that far. You know, because this person came from me, it's always, that's always my baby.
Yes.
Okay, that's true in a way, but that person is going to grow up, make their own decisions, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, ma'am.
Even if they're still living in your house.
Yes.
They're going to make their own decisions.
That is
and
so true.
Our roles as parents shifts. I mean, I still remember, going through those things in my own head when my daughter went to college, my son moved out, and thinking about, they're not listening to me like they used to, right? I can't just tell them, stop doing that. I don't want you to do that. I mean, I can say it, but.
Yes, but they're not going to listen. Why would they go? Like, I don't live in your house anymore.
Right. I mean, they're making their own decisions.
Yeah.
And you want to, ladies, we want to speak to our kids in a way that we maintain a relationship. And so we have to move in some ways from parent to coach, really.
That is very true. That is very, very true. So true.
I don't think I thought about it until this moment, but yeah, because the coach can't make you do anything.
Yeah.
The coach can tell you, hey, this is a good plan, or hey, what do you want to do, da da da. But it's always going to be your decision, and so it is with our kids. And
Absolutely.
I think that part,
Mm-hmm.
right, because we have to relinquish control.
Yes, we do. We have to.
Over that part of our life, it can be. You're right. It can be grief, and man, even when you talked about grief, I mean, that is so powerful because it made me think. I'm not gonna go to church, but it just made me think, how our life is eternal.
Yes.
We are eternal beings. Let me put it that way. And so death is a transition. Now, I know we say it, but similar to what you just talked about with grief, I feel like we probably don't fully understand even life.
Oh,
that,
gosh.
That we're
That's
eternal.
very true. Yes.
There's really no death for the believer. We leave the body, but there's no death. There's no ending.
Yes.
We are eternal. And I think, as you were talking, I was thinking about that, Melissa, and I thought, if we understood life, we'd probably have a better understanding of grief.
Yes. Yes.
So that's powerful. That's wow. Okay, you blowing my mind. All right. So, Melissa, as we wrap this up, I definitely want to give you an opportunity to tell us about, I know you mentioned that you had a workbook. I know you have a book because I have the book somewhere. I don't have it at the desk here.
That's okay. That is okay. Thank you. And just thank you even for the support with that. But so I wrote a prayer journal and it's called The Waiting Room. And that is definitely another story for another time. That was a part of fear too, because it was two parts of fear for me as Melissa, because I had to go back real deep and I knew where the waiting room experience happened. It was me becoming a mother at a very young age and all the things that we had to go through collectively as my kids and myself as their mother. But then also Like, oh gosh, people are going to know about my kids, the good,
Mm,
bad, ugly, and indifferent, and what I've had to go through, right? With a smile on my face. Um, don't know that I've just got off with the cop or the jail or prison, prior to, and having to go give a speech or having to go do something. And so the waiting room was birth, literally a labor pains out of pain. And
mm.
though it's a prayer journal, and I even remember this, I will say this. I had someone say, "Oh, you wrote a book." I said, "No, it's a prayer journal." They said, it's still a book because you wrote
Mhm,
it.
mhm. That's right.
And that was a mindset shift, right? And so,
Yeah.
but yes, there are other things, and I hope I didn't get ahead of your question. But
No.
yes, the waiting room. And like I stated, I'm working on actually two more books. One is an ebook, one is a physical copy, tangible hard copy book, bound book, if you will. Affirmation cards that are digital. Then those digital cards will be coming out on tangible cards as well. Some workbooks and some other things that I'm working on that will be released in the next couple of months.
That's amazing. So now you have to give us your website. We'll make
Yes.
sure it's on the screen, but tell us, where can people get in touch with you? Where are you?
Yes, ma'am. So, as the young generation says, I am out here in the social media streets. And so, I am on Instagram as at Fear Fighter Coach. I am on Facebook as my name that is written right here, Melissa Morehead Moore. No hyphen on Facebook. I'm on TikTok as well. I find TikTok to be it is the laughter that I need at the end of the day.
It is.
And I will say, I try to give myself no more than 45 minutes to scroll and to scream out loud and to laugh and to release the day of life, right? Just to release the day's pressures and laugh and cry and giggle and like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I'm on TikTok as well as the waiting room. And so the waiting room has kind of been my platform on TikTok of more of just affirmations, just doing a hey, I need to remind you of type deal. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, awesome. So of course I'm going to invite the audience, everybody follow, check out her prayer journal. Listen,
Well,
wait for that book.
thank you. And I forgot Clubhouse, Deb, the very first place that we met. So I do a room on Mondays on Clubhouses at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. No more than 30 minutes because what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that women had a place where that was a safe place that they could go,
Mhm,
whether it's during their break, whether during their lunch break, or just working, or whatever the case may be. And it is called Take Back Your Power, Free from Fear Room. And we talk about all the fears that we have. And so each Monday is one fear that I designate, and we talk about and just empowering and just affirmations and things of that nature. No more than 30 minutes. And I also have a newsletter as well. So I'm really trying to make sure that I cover every corner of fear that I do believe that we as women, especially women,
mhm.
that we deal with. So
Yeah,
there's
that's
something
awesome.
for everyone.
Yes, there is. And if you're not familiar with Clubhouse, you can download that app. It's a social media app and it's voice activated. It's a
Yes,
voice app. So you don't even have to get on the screen.
we do
You
not.
can listen while you're at work or while you're at play, whatever you're doing. Check Melissa out on Mondays at what time, Melissa?
11 o'clock Central Standard Time.
11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So check out Melissa. Listen, take my advice. Yeah, y'all already know I only deal with great people. Now you know this, right? I only hang around great people. So
I love it. Thank
so
you.
I wouldn't be telling you guys if it wasn't true. If I didn't think you could get value and get your life shifted and changed, hey, we would have just ended.
Right, that part.
So Melissa, thank you so much
Thank
for being here on today. This has been a great conversation.
thank you.
I'm listen. I'm gonna go back and listen to it myself
Yeah.
because I think that there was just so much that you said that we could dig into more. And I knew that if I kept talking, we would still be talking. So, so, so who knows? Maybe there's a part two coming. Who knows, y'all? Because
I'm here for it.
I have some more questions. There's just so much I feel like we could have got into, but okay. All right. All right. So, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb.
Fear fighter coach, y'all.
Is a liar.
Fear is a liar. Listen, thanks, audience, for joining us on today for the Kingdom Creatives from Vision to Voice podcast. Listen, I want to invite you to join us next week. We're going to have another creative, a Kingdom creative that will be with us. I'm not telling you're going to have to come on, join us, or watch social media because you know I'm an advertiser. Now, don't forget also, go to Deb Howard online, right? I have all kind of events coming up, all kind of offerings. Listen, go check them out. Until next time, you know what I'm going to say already. Go have your most abundant day. I will see you soon.